Hey everybody, Sarah Brewer, aka Mathemartiste here, and I'm going to show you how to construct this lovely 12-fold pattern that sits in a 6-4-3-4 tiling. All right, here we go. So let's open up GeoGebra Classic 5, and I have some default settings set up that you can check out another time, but let's just get into it. So I'm going to start by putting in a point A at 0, 0 in my input bar and a point B at 1, 0 in my input bar. And I'm going to grab my regular polygon tool and I want to put in a regular hexagon. And I'm following my construction protocol for this pattern on another screen, so I make sure that I do everything kind of the simplest way that I can. On this hexagon, I want to build a square at the bottom and a square at the bottom right. And then I'm going to select these 3 polygons and I'm going to make their opacity 0 so that when I click and drag inside them, I'm not selecting the polygons. I'm going to put in a couple of perpendicular bisectors to find the center of my hexagon, because that's the center of my pattern. And I'm going to find it with my intersect tool. I also want this midpoint and this midpoint. And I want to put a circle in that passes through those 2 points. And I'm going to put a line in through that circle. I'm going to find this point and I'm going to put a circle here. I'm going to put a couple more lines in. I'm going to put one here and I'm going to put one here. And let's see, what do we want to do next? Okay, so we're almost ready for our slider. Let me put in one more perpendicular bisector. So this right here is my minimal triangle from this point, and this point. But we're going to build a little bit beyond that to get our full pattern. All right, so you know I like my angles to vary, so let's put a slider in, and this is going to be an angle slider from 0 to 90 degrees, and let's increment it by 0.5. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take this point, let me show its label, and this point. So I want to rotate point K by alpha about point N, and I'm going to do that by typing it in my input bar, rotate K, Alt A for alpha, about N. And now when I move my slider, that point goes from 0 degrees to 90 degrees. I'm going to put a line in NK prime, and I'm going to hide K prime. And this is one of my pattern lines, so I'm going to make it blue, and I'm going to make it thicker. All right, let's go ahead and find a couple of points here. So let me find this intersection. And then I also need an angle bisector in here. So let me put that in. And I like to style my angle bisectors with dashed lines just to distinguish them from the surrounding structure. So we're going to put a little kite in here. And so I'm at this point, let me change my angle a little bit. That's good. So I want to reflect my blue line over that angle bisector. I want this point and I'm going to reflect this point over my vertical, and I can go ahead and put in that kite. Zoom in a little bit so you can see better. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put a little hexagon triangle thing off of this kite. And in order to do that, I need a little bit more information. So I need to put in another angle bisector here. Oops. Dash line. And I want, oh, I need to do one more reflection. I need to reflect this one over the vertical. And I want this intersection, and I want to reflect this over that line. And I want this point. And then I'm going to get the rest of these points with reflection. So I'm going to reflect this point over that angle bisector, reflect this point and this point over that vertical, and I'm going to put in this polygon. And so it's squished, and it's exactly a triangle at 30 degrees, and it's a hexagon at 60, and it's a triangle again at 90. So we're going to leave it around 15 to 20 degrees for our construction. All right, we're getting there. So let's put in a couple of sequences. So let's go ahead and fill in my sequence of kites. So this is Q1. So I want a sequence of rotations of Q1 by pi I over 6 about k, where I goes from 0 to 11. So that's 12 divisions of 2 pi. So 2 pi over 12 is the same as pi over 6. And then I want, what is this? Poly 4. I want a sequence of rotations of poly 4 by pi I over 3 about k, where I goes from 0 to 5. So that only has 6 symmetry. All right, we're getting there. So I can quickly get another ring of kites by reflecting over this line. Cool. And then what am I doing next? I'm gonna reflect poly 4 over here. So let me select that in algebra so it's easier. And then I'm going to put in a pattern line here. So this is just easier than creating all those pattern lines. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to construct a little star that's going to live inside my square, because we've got our pattern inside our hexagon pretty much done now. We need to finish our triangle and we need to finish our square. So to get the pattern inside my square, I need a diagonal inside the square, and I need an angle bisector. Let me put in that center. So I need an angle bisector right here, and I'm going to make it dashed. And I want that intersection. And then pretty much all I'm going to do is reflect this around, but I only have to do it a couple times because I'm going to create a polyline. So I'm going to reflect this once to get this point, and then I'm going to grab my polyline tool and just put in a little polyline there. And that polyline is E_1. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a sequence of rotations of, what did I say it was called? E_1 by pi I over 4 about u, where I goes from 0 to 7. And I've got a little 8-pointed star there, so that's cool. We're halfway there. I want to reflect this polygon. What was it? Poly 4 prime about u. So sequence rotate poly 4 prime by pi I over 2 about u, where I goes from 0 to 3. So I only need 4 of those. And then just seeing what I need. Okay, so we're pretty much done with our square at this point. So in order to get stuff over in my triangle, I want to get this little guy over here the easiest way I can think of. So I'm going to reflect it first here and then here, just to get it inside that triangle. And then all I need are my bounding sequences of kites. And so I can get those easily from this guy. So let me put in a pattern line, thicker blue, and you guessed it, an angle bisector. Give myself a little bit more space to work here. So I need angle bisector. Oh, hang on, I need a line first. I need this line. So that's just some underlying structure that I was missing. And then this is the angle that I want to bisect. I'm also going to end up bisecting this one, but we'll do that when we get there. And so what I'm doing is I'm building, I want to build a kite on the edge here. So I'm going to kind of first build one here and then reflect. So I'm going to reflect these 2 points over. Oops, I didn't need to do that. I only needed this one. And then I'm going to put in my angle bisector here. And I need these 3 points reflected over that angle bisector. Oh, I didn't make my bisector dashed. There we go. So I'm going to reflect these 3 points over that angle bisector, and then I can put in that bounding kite. And I want to make a sequence of those that go around here. So there's going to be 6 of them. So I want to type sequence. Oh, I need to know what point this is. H. So I'm going to type sequence, rotate, what are you? You are Q2 by pi I over 6 about H, where I goes from 0 to 5. And we're almost there, folks. All we have left to do are create a few more sequences. So I'm going to zoom out so we can see what we're working with here. And everything else I do is going to be rotated about point K, which is the center. So I'm going to hide my lines at this point. I'm going to hide my points. Maybe I'll leave point K just so we can see it. And I'm going to hide that line segment. Okay, so let's make a sequence of L4s. And I'm going to go ahead and hide poly 4 prime, and poly 4 double prime because I already made sequences with those. And I'm going to go ahead and hide my poly line because I made a sequence of that. So now the only things, oh, I can hide Q1 also, and I can hide Q2. So now the only things are left are things that I need to make sequences of or that I've already made sequences of. So let's make a sequence of L4s. So I want to sequence rotate L4 by pi I over, what do I want? Over 3 about K, where I goes from 0 to 5. And let's think about what else I need to rotate that many times. L1 prime. So I can put that in there. L3. I can put that in there. And what are you? You are, oh, tell me what you are. You're poly 4 triple prime. There we go. So I put all those together in one big list. And I didn't include this guy because he's got to be rotated more times. So I'm going to do a sequence of rotations of L5 by pi I over 6 about K, where I goes from 0 to 11. Okay, cool. So I'm going to go ahead and hide L3, L4, L5, and L1 prime. And I want to put in a bounding hexagon, and I want to rotate my squares. So I'm going to get rid of poly 1, and I'll leave poly 2, and I'm going to write sequence rotate poly 2 by pi I over 3 about K, where I goes from 0 to 5. So I want those in there. I'm going to hide poly 2, L7. I'm going to make those black and skinny. And oh, I can hide this little guy. I can hide my poly 4 triple prime. And I want a bounding polygon. So I'm going to show my points again. And I want to put in a regular 12-gon. To bounce the whole thing. Hide my points. I can hide my 2 circles, and I can play with my slider. If you want to see how I was able to color this pattern, or you want to watch more tutorials of GeoGebra construction of Islamic geometric patterns, please consider subscribing to my Patreon. The link is in the video description. Thanks so much, and enjoy constructing.